The Nikon Z52 plus the Nikon Z 180 to 600mm f5.6 to 6.3 VR zoom lens. Now, is it the best budget bird and wildlife combo? Find out next. Welcome back to the channel, guys. We've got quite a bit to get through in this video, so I'm not going to mess around. I've only had this Nikon Z52 for a day. I've teamed it up with my lens here, and I'm going to do some testing when it comes to bird and wildlife photography. First test, I'm going to head out into my bird garden here. I'm going to hook up the camera so you can see what I'm seeing, and we're going to test the bird AF. Let's go and do it. I can't believe this. Look at these superb fairy wrens. They're sitting on this little hibiscus tree. Oh, the cuteness, the two of them. And look at the bird AF. It's working. I forgot, I haven't even put the date and time on this Z50. That's what that little red clock is in the top left corner that you see is flashing. Oh, this is amazing. Look at these little guys. What a fantastic way to test the bird AF by getting these superb fairy wrens sitting on this tree right here. Oh, that was amazing. So just over here, I've got a noisy miner and it's sitting on this grevillea. Yeah, no, the bird AF is working. Look, it's tracking its eye. I mean, it does stay with the body. It loses it a little bit when the bird ducks down, but when the bird's face is up, it really does snap straight onto the face. I was trying a different setting between the 3D tracking and the auto area AF. For this particular situation, I found that the auto area AF, it just snaps onto the bird a little bit quicker. I've got a little brown honeyeater sitting on top of this grevillea, having a good old feast, having breakfast. I was just trained on that little brown honeyeater, 600mm, filled the frame, and the bird AF just snapped straight onto the eye, so it works really well in this Z50 Mark II. All right, fantastic. That was the bird AF in the Nikon Z52. Now you've seen what it looks like. I noticed the other day there are some kingfishers down the back in the nature reserve. They've still got their nests. Let's head down there with this kit and see what we can see. Okay, so right here, I've got a kingfisher's nest. Now I've been watching these two dart in and out. Now with the Z52, it can shoot up to 11 frames per second in mechanical shutter. So I've set it to that. Now, as well as in video, it can shoot 4K at 60 frames per second, that is with a crop, which is good. I'm actually glad that it's got a crop because it gets me in closer to the birds and wildlife. I just want to check out the quality of it, but this can do 10-bit in analog. So I am going to shoot a clip of that for you, and then I'm going to grade it so you can see the difference. So I've been sitting here getting some stills and video of these little guys, and I just love their characteristics about them. And this camera, it's been latching onto their eye. You know, granted, it sometimes it loses it a little bit around where I don't have a clear shot of the bird. But once that bird is in the clear, this bird AF, it latches onto it. Now, for most of this video, I've stuck with the Nikon Z52 in the 4K at 60 frames per second, and I've slowed it down to 25 frames per second, and I'm just doing 8-bit, and it's recorded in camera. So what you're pretty much seeing is straight out of the Z50 Mark II. And like, to me, it's doing a fantastic job. Like, look at this, for example. I got this butterfly before, Look at the detail on that butterfly. It's just amazing. And then also on this leaf, I saw this little tiny fly and it was actually doing a little bit of an Irish jig. It was quite funny to watch. So yeah, look at that footage. Isn't that nice and clear with this lens attached to this Nikon Z50 Mark II? Right over here on this rock, I've got a little water dragon and it's sunning itself. So let me just get a shot. Can't believe this Nikon Z50 Mark II with this lens, how sharp is that on the eye of that little water dragon? Awesome. So with my next little test for this Nikon Z50 Mark II doing birds and wildlife photography, I wanted to see what the pre-capture release was like on it. Now, I set it up on the C30 setting and I had a pre-capture release time of 1 second. This is the first time for me using this and I was a little bit skeptical about it, but it works. Now granted, it only shoots in JPEG, but it's getting me shots that I would just normally never get. Like, here's a prime example. Here's a willy wagtail sitting on a fence. I'm trained on it. By the time the willy wagtail took off, I hit the shutter. The Z50 Mark II went back, and if you look at frame by frame, look at this little bug come in from the left. It flies past the willy wagtail, and then the willy wagtail turns around and gives chase. That is so cool. By the time I'd hit the shutter, Willy had already flown off. But because of the pre-capture release, I captured it. Let's talk about the battery life out of this Nikon Z50 Mark II. Now, I've been shooting a lot of 4K 60. I've been shooting a lot of stills in the high frame rate, and this battery has just churned through it. It didn't last that long. When you compare it to, say, the Nikon Z50, I thought this one actually lasts a little bit less. But you got to think that with the Z50 Mark II, it's got a lot of stuff under the hood compared to the Z50. So it's going to be requiring more power. So that is a tip if you are going to get this camera. Make sure you get a second battery, maybe even a third battery if you want to go out and shoot all day with it. Now, one word of warning when we're talking about using the Z50 Mark II with this lens, you've got to remember this is a very heavy lens and this is a very small camera. It puts a lot of stress on that Z mount if you're hanging onto the camera and you let go of the lens. Please make sure that you hang on to this lens and you support the lens and basically hold it like so and just fire away with the camera. It's even better if you use a tripod, or in my case, I use this particular monopod, and I'll leave you the video at the end of this one to check out. I haven't felt like this in quite a while, actually. I've got so excited when I woke up this morning and went and grabbed this camera with this lens, and I don't know, it's just been really pleasurable and I've had so much fun. And to me, that's what photography should be all about. It should be about having fun. It's not about, you know, blistering speeds. I mean, that's the reason why I still use my older DSLRs sometimes, because I enjoy the photography aspect. But yeah, this little camera, I've had so much fun with it, just going around this nature reserve. Anyway, guys, I'm gonna head back into the studio and let's wrap this video up. Okay. So here we are back in the studio. So to the question, is this Nikon Z52 plus the Nikon Z 180 to 600mm lens the best budget bird and wildlife combo? You've just seen the proof of the pudding. You've just seen the stills and video out of this setup. And I am super impressed with it. It's just amazing. The bird AF in this camera. If I get a clear shot of that bird, it will just latch onto its eye and I just fire away with the shutter. You know, if you don't have the money for the likes of a Z8 and Z9, and trust me, they are fantastic cameras. But if you don't have that type of money for those cameras, this setup will do you for birds and wildlife, that is for sure. You don't really even need this type of lens. You could go for something like the Tamron 50 to 400mm Z mount lens, which I reviewed, and I'll leave that over here for you to have a look at, that would be enough with this camera. Anyway guys, I've been super impressed. The only thing is, please remember, this is a heavy lens. Be very careful, it's a small camera with that Z mount. You need to use it in conjunction with, say, a tripod or a monopod, or as I had that shoulder strap, just to take the type of pressure off your arms as well. But yeah, I'm gonna have a lot more fun with this. I've just got to the tip of the iceberg in terms of what this camera can do yet. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Never stop creating, and I'll see you next time.